We're now at the 500-year anniversary of the Protestant Reformation, and you need to be aware that the Vatican Jesuits are using this celebration as a vehicle to destroy Protestant Christianity. They're sending in false apostles to infiltrate churches and creating cult movements to subvert and manipulate Protestants into doctrines of demons. They're coming to steal, kill and destroy, and this should be very clear from the Jesuit oath that is taken that this is very intentional. This society is rooted in Freemasonry, with Pope Francis being the first ever Jesuit Pope. They're not Christians, they're Luciferians and Kabbalists. What we're seeing develop with the ecumenical movement is leading to the New Age of Antichrist. Do not be deceived.
I want to bring something very urgent to your attention. The ecumenical movement that is taking place worldwide is doing so, I believe, in the spirit of Antichrist. Now that sounds like a very big statement, but I'm going to hopefully prove this to be true. It is being done in the name of Christ. It's being headed up by the Roman Catholic Church. It is representative of the charismatic movement, or the leaders of the charismatic movement, coming into reunification with the Roman Catholic Church. And they claim that when the world sees this reunification, that then suddenly the whole world will believe in Christ as a result of this, and that this is allegedly to prepare the way for the Lord's return. This is actually unbiblical.
Who occupies the top of those mountains can literally shape the agenda that forms nations. This crusade, this war on terrorism.
The Knights Templars. In Jerusalem, the Templars began to deviate further and further away from the practices of Christianity. They learnt the secret arts of the Kabbalah, an ancient form of Jewish magic, along with its dark rites and rituals. In 1717, the Templars made their reappearance in Europe. They had grown in both number and strength, and were now ready to coin a new identity, free from their reputation of the past, and given credibility by none other than the monarchy and aristocracy of England. And the name they chose for themselves was a name that would be known by many, but understood by a few. This new name, the Freemasons.
Now, at its very core, this issue seems to tie right into the Knights Templar. And I know that sounds very strange from the get-go, but honestly, this deception that's coming into the church is actually tied to the Jesuit Knights Templar, the government of the Order of the Temple of Solomon. I mean, not only are we in the time where everyone's saying, you know, is there going to be a third temple? And then in 2013, it comes to light here that the Knights Templar are back, you know, not that they ever went away, but they've come back into the public light. The Sovereign Magistral Order of the Temple of Solomon. 2013 AD. It's fully restored as an independent sovereign subject of international law in 2013, embodying the authentic Templar heritage. And we literally have a whole website here which is dedicated to all of these official documents, legal documents mind you, and the missions. This is what I want to show you, this Templar spirituality. And this is how this links with this deception that we're seeing, the worship of the goddess, the reverence of the divine feminine, Gaia. The temple rule proves that the Knights Templar were always dedicated to honouring the divine feminine principle as the spiritual feminine aspect of God. So you can see how this ties to the Roman Catholic Church, to the Jesuits, to Allah, the moon goddess, and to all of these false religions, but also this pagan New Age, which is actually the Old Age Babylon agenda, and the throwing out of this masculine we see all these attacks on God and the Old Testament and the truth of God, and turning into this airy-fairy, emotional, experiential deal without boundaries, without restrictions, without commands. And all of this stuff is tying into, when you come to its very core, the conspiracy at its very heart of the New World Order, the Antichrist, the paganism, the Babylon agenda, New World Order, is actually rooted in the Knights Templar, who never went away, but now in 2013 have officially come out into the public and declared themselves sovereign, a sovereign entity without territory, but sovereign nonetheless. So it's all about Gnosticism and Christian mysticism, the divine feminine. The uniquely ancient and diverse heritage of Templar spirituality was fully disclosed to the Vatican and officially endorsed by the Roman Catholic Church. Authentic Templar spirituality is a form of esoteric Gnosticism which is wholly compatible with the canonical Christian mysticism of classical Catholicism. Gnostic spirituality primarily concentrates on personal divine communion through the Holy Spirit. Here we go, look, Templar chivalry, look at this. This is the picture of the Pope with all the world leaders of religions, of false religions. Hinduism, Islam, Baha'i. And this is what they are showing. And at the bottom of the page we can see all of these emblems which say a lot. Pontifical protection, recognised by 5 Vatican papal bulls as Templar guardians of the Church. Cooperation with Islam. Look at that, cooperation with Islam as a tool of the Jesuit Knights Templar. Look at this. The Knights of Saladin under Templar sovereign patronage. Diplomatic relations with the United Nations with the crest of Rome. Oh my goodness me. Look at this, United Nations. This is where all of these agendas are coming to. So, and remember with the United Nations that they have those books on New Age spirituality, Alice Bailey and all of these people who were involved in this Gnostic counterfeit spirituality of the Antichrist. And this is very similar. This logo is very similar to what we see on some of the big Christian, so-called Christian broadcasting networks at the very top. But with this fire and water. So we see on a lot of these big organizational level, a lot of Illuminati symbolism. And what it is essentially, remember with the Knights Templar, this is dominionism. This is dominion theology, about taking over the world. So this explains the influx of false doctrine of Jesuit infiltrators into churches, into the mainstream Christian media, and all with this core belief of the Holy Grail, the divine feminine Gnosticism that they are really pushing onto churches and losing those boundaries. They're advertising it as something like in Hollywood, you know, we need to get out of this box and we need to, you know, forget all the old stuff. We need to free ourselves, liberate ourselves, liberation from the old into this new spirituality, which is a lot more humanistic and it's a lot more divine, and you feel more, you experience more, and that's the cheese on the trap that they're trying to pull people in. I mean, yes, there are certain good things to Reformation. but they are staging a counterfeit Reformation, which is a Knights Templar Gnostic Reformation, and they're pulling people into these horrific scenes which I showed at the beginning of this, with Bethel music and all of these people that have counterfeit revivals, counterfeit prophecies, counterfeit signs and wonders. These groups that are actually pushing a Kundalini spirit. These counterfeit crusades that they hold at these top levels, which are coaxing and coercing people into a counterfeit spirit.
They think of when they think of Friday the 13th. But really, if they studied history, if they studied, well, we know most history is fake, but if they studied the origins of it, and even today, they're releasing articles talking about it, which is a bit surprising, that how this goes back to the Knights Templar. Now, the Knights Templar were a secret society, but people always hear about Knights Templar, and they think, oh, Knights Templar were Christians, they were a Christian organization. I mean, even the Wikipedia tells you, the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, also known as the Order of Solomon's Temple. The Knights Templar was a Catholic military order, right? So people think of it, they think of it, oh, it's this Christian group. The order was among the wealthiest, most powerful. Their membership grew rapidly. People were a part of it. They think that this has something to do with Jesus Christ defending Christianity, but it didn't, because behind closed doors, just like the Masons put on this front that they're this organization that's for the well-being of the town, people don't realize that these people worship Satan, worship Lucifer. The Knights Templar really worship the Baphomet, and it's funny because if you read about what happened on Friday the 13th, which I will read to you now, you'll start to laugh about how ridiculous it is, because Time magazine even has an article out calling what happened to the Knights Templar fake news. I mean, that's how badly. I'm going to say that the king calculated this whole thing because he wanted money, and so they made up and said that these people were Satanists and performing black magic. I mean, it's pathetic. It says, over several years, this medieval fake news was repeated over and over again. Its loudness and frequency making up for the fact that it was a lie, until in 1312 a council of the church reached the conclusion that the Templars' name had been so blackened that the order's members ought to be forcibly retired. The first reason given by the papal order dissolving the Templars was the very fact of infamy, suspicion, noisy insinuation. The knights were thus blown away by a gust of hot air. Confessions obtained by torture were used to back a relentless campaign of simple, repetitive falsehood. It says, truth, what truth? The story of the Knights Templar is often dusted off for the purposes of popular entertainment and conspiracy mongering. On the one hand are the Da Vinci Code and the video game franchise Assassin's Creed, in which the Templars are time-hopping agents of a deathless global plot to subvert or rule the world. On the other, we have frequent, endless speculation about so-called Templar treasure. All this is good fun, but it misses the point of the Templar story, which has many instructive echoes today. So, I mean, even now, right, they're defending the Templars by saying it was fake news what happened to this poor organization, because people don't worship Satan and perform black magic. Secret societies and conspiracy theory people are all crazy. I mean, how pathetic is this? Trying to get people to trigger by hearing fake news in medieval times, how the downfall of the Templars was because of fake news. It says, of course, as we've seen, the downfall of the Templars shows us that fake news was most definitely not invented by the President of the United States in 2016, but was a tool at the disposal of the King of France more than 7 centuries before him. So as Time magazine interviewed these people, they dug up their graves and brought them back to life and interviewed all these members who came forward and said, listen, they're performing all these types of rituals, they're worshiping the Baphomet. Now they just go, oh, that's just crazy. They just made it all up. It's the same stuff we see today, right? What's unfortunate about it is what happened to the Knights Templar is what should be happening today. That's what should be happening. People should be coming forward, outing these secret societies and secret organizations. And then the regular people out there should be fired up and wanting the dismantling of these organizations and the imprisonment of these people for practicing black magic. All that stuff was an abomination then. See what the difference is? It's all accepted now, right? Say anything against homosexuality, it's hate speech. Say anything against a Satanist or black magic and all that, you're a bigot. Spitting on the cross now, they're allowed to do it. We can't do anything to the Baphomet statue or we get arrested for assault or destroying public property. They could just run over the 10 Commandments time and time again. Then nobody cares. See how it's all flipped on its head? But what they were doing back then, by destroying the Knights Templar, was the right thing to do. And you see why Friday the 13th has a significance as bad luck? Because to me, I believe that they created the superstition that it's bad luck because for them it was a bad day. Because this organization was pretty much dismantled. It was the beginning of the dismantling of it. Now it's not dismantled anymore, as we know, because they just kept doing it. They kept infiltrating organizations. They kept pretending to be Christian organizations. Right? They kept putting on the front, oh, we're Christian, we're going to go to we're going to perform our mass, just with our soldiers, and then they go underneath the church and they worship the Baphomet and they perform orgies and all this disgusting crap. Still goes on today. But to them, the fact that it was dismantled on Friday the 13th, October the 13th, means it was a really bad day for them. So that's where the superstition, I believe, comes from. Because there's still other stories of Friday the 13th and why it's bad luck that are out there. But if you read those stories and you understand why they would plant these seeds and put it in our head of Friday the 13th, ooh, be scared, oh, it's a bad day, bad things happen on Friday the 13th. All you got to do is look at the Knights Templar. Because for them, ever since then, it's been all about making sure stuff like that doesn't happen again. Making sure that they can remain quiet, that they can remain secret, that they don't get outed again. Making sure that their members who swear to their oath don't go and tell political figures, well, now I guess it wouldn't matter because the political figures are all compromised, but don't go out and tell people about the secrets that they're really doing.
What's choose life?
What?
Choose life. Simon says it sometimes. He says, choose life, Veronica.
Choose life. Choose life was a well-meaning slogan from a 1980s anti-drug campaign. And we used to add things to it. So I might say, for example, choose designer lingerie in the vain hope of kicking some life back into a dead relationship. Choose handbags. Choose high-heeled shoes, cashmere and silk to make yourself feel what passes for happy. Choose an iPhone made in China by a woman who jumped out of a window and stick it in the pocket of your jacket fresh from a South Asian fire trap. Choose Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram and 1,000 other ways to spew your bile across people you never met. Choose updating your profile. Tell the world what you had for breakfast and hope that someone somewhere cares. Choose looking up old flames, desperate to believe that you don't look as bad as they do. Choose live blogging from your first wank to your last breath. Human interaction reduced to nothing more than data. Choose 10 things you never knew about celebrities who'd had surgery. Choose screaming about abortion. Choose rape jokes, slut-shaming, revenge porn, and an endless tide of depressing misogyny. Choose 9/11 never happened. And if it did, it was the Jews. Choose a 0-hour contract and a 2-hour journey to work. And choose the same for your kids, only worse. And maybe tell yourself it's better that they never happened. And then sit back and smother the pain with an unknown dose of an unknown drug made in somebody's fucking kitchen. Choose unfulfilled promise and wishing you'd done it all differently. Choose never learning from your own mistakes. Choose watching history repeat itself.